Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of your Brains Coach podcast. My name is Angela Shurina. I'm your host, I'm your Brains Coach, and it is my job here to bring to you all the best, most effective, cutting edge, recent, most useful, and life applicable brain body tools so you could take better control of your brain, of your body, of your thoughts, of your emotions, and most importantly, of your actions, so you get to experience more and more of life that you desire, of life that you absolutely love living. Today, folks, we are talking about productivity, we're talking about focus, all the crucial, essential things that are absolutely required to master if you want to have a meaningful life experience. When I personally talk about productivity, I don't talk about maximizing the amount of tasks done in every single day with no regard to your priorities or what makes you feel like your life has fulfillment and meaning and you're pursuing important for you things. For me, productivity is getting closer and closer to this version of the day when every single hour, every single minute of your day is spent on things that give you meaning, the sense, the feeling of meaning, of fulfillment, of joy, of service. What I also call that what gives you a lifetime. I don't know about you guys, but when I last watched Netflix, and that was when was it? 3-4 months ago. I kicked this habit off for good. And when the last time I watched Netflix, it was entertaining. It made me feel, it gave me a little bit of fun. But when I look back on all the hours that I spent watching Netflix, and guys, those are hours and days. And if you accumulate all the time, months, when I look back at that time, it did not bring me the feeling of being more alive. When I think about it now, to this time that I spent watching television in different series, they made me, maybe feel perhaps more connected to culture. But then again, I have not always chosen to watch something that was truly aligned with my interests and passion, but instead it was just killing time. You know why we have this saying, killing time? Because you're literally taking out the life of your hours, of your days, of your months. And then I think back to all this again, hours of watching Netflix, and I'm like, I'd be so better off if I spend most of the time instead trying to connect with people, trying to learn something that is useful in my life, that I love, that I'm passionate about, trying to move forward goals and things that are actually important, challenging myself more, leaning into relationships, into hard goals, and dedicating more time to them, to those challenges, instead of checking out and killing the time with Netflix. So my version of productivity, the reason I was telling you all this Netflix story in my life, when I'm talking about productivity, folks, I'm talking about maximizing that aliveness in your life, that meaning, that fulfillment, the joy that you truly experience to the depths of your core, to your depths of your spirit and soul, and that changes and enhances and enriches your life in some way. That's what I talk when I talk about productivity. How do we get more of that done and more of this into our life? So this is what productivity is all about, and this productivity cannot exist without focus. And let me start with focus, something that we work with every single client of mine, whether they are entrepreneurs at the very beginning of their journey or they are executives who passed the half of their life and are looking into more fulfillment, more clarity, and more purpose. in their life, no matter who we work with, focus is always a skill that we need to strengthen. And that includes me. Just this weekend, I was thinking, I'm not that focused on the priorities in my life. I don't want to end up at the end of this quarter thinking, where did all my time go? With all my priorities and goal setting, where did it all go? I don't want to end up in that place. I want to end up in a place of reaching my goals, overreaching them, and thinking, yeah, that was the quarter, that was transformational. I'm a different person. I'm living a different life because of that. And that requires insane focus. And guys, I believe the challenge of our lives today is not choosing between good or bad, what to focus on. Well, maybe excluding Netflix. Not a fan anymore. As you can hear, focus of instead, so focus is a skill that we are working, all of us, me including. And again, the challenge over time is not choosing between good or bad, but choosing between good now and great in a year, in 2, 3, 5 years down the road. That's the challenge of our generation, not choosing between survival and abundance, but choosing between being okay and being at the same level and choosing transformational experience and great things that require prioritization, and focus is definitely what needed to make your priorities work, make them happen, not just talk about them. So focus, one of the core foundational, best, most effective habits to strengthen your focus every single day on the most important things that you're pushing, moving forward, that you're working on. One of the fundamental habits among all the distractions, all the things that you can be doing, should be doing, or a good idea to be doing, amongst all these distractions and possibilities and opportunities, in order to focus on your priorities that more often than not will take time to accomplish, every day you need to wake up and you need to look at your planner, you could look at your schedule, look at whatever it is you use to write down or to note or to somehow put into reality, to manifest them, right? To make them solid. What do you use to capture those priorities, those 2-3 things that you need to focus on every single day? And so every single morning you wake up and you look at those 1 to 3 priority projects or to-dos for the day. You make sure that they're scheduled with plenty of time to accomplish. And then the rest of the day should just flow around them. We're going to talk about scheduling in a moment when we're going to talk about 7 keys for the most productive week. And it's not going to be fluff. Those are fundamental core principles, the keys that almost every single super productive, successful person you admire does, whether they think about that or not. So before we talk about that, just realize that every single morning, that's the habit you need to start practicing. It's a skill also. It's not something that you do once a week, a month, a year. No, it's something a quarter. It's something that you do every day. So you wake up, you look at your calendar, you look at your journal, again, whatever you use to capture your goals. Look at those 1 to 3 priorities for the day. Make sure that they're scheduled in blocks of time and let the rest of the day run and swim and float around that. Do not squeeze into that time anything else. And that's how you focus. Your brain gonna get distracted. So many things you're bombarded with every single day. It is natural for every single human being to get distracted. But you know what's the best cure for distractions? Focusing on your priorities, focusing on your goals. And you don't just hope to have that focus naturally. You will never get that. You get back to that every single day, sometimes several times per week. Like, for example, Brendon Burchard has this 3 points of the day where he checks in with what he's trying to accomplish in that day, or to experience, whether that's personal or professional life. And then every morning, every midday, every night, he just gets back to that focus, because we, again, are bombarded with so many things. The more you advance along your career path or your business path or any sorts of self-development path, the more of stuff you start getting into your life, the more distractions you're actually going to have. And the more you have to work on strengthening your focus, because your focus is like that shield that's going to protect you from all of your distractions. So in the world where technology will distract you more than ever, that's like today, right now, is the time when we are more distracted. We have more opportunities to distract ourselves than ever. Just realize that it is a challenge. And the only shield against a challenge is your focus on the things that are important to you. It's like reading a Bible. Just look at your priorities for the day. Make sure that they're scheduled. Start with them. And then let the rest of the day unfold, however imperfectly. And I want to also give you this visual that's used in many coaching, life guidance, life coaching, business coaching, career coaching programs. This visual that will allow you to understand why it's so important to do this. Focusing first and scheduling first your most important things or most important rocks. There is this visual of having a big jar and then having big boulders and smaller pebbles and then sand. So the idea is to fit in all of that stuff in that jar. And then again, close your eyes. Imagine that glass jar, this big jar, and you have big rocks, you have smaller pebbles, and then you have sand. The idea is, if you want to fit as much of that as possible into your day, first, you got to start with big boulders, because those who are, if you don't fit them in, the rest of the small stuff will take more space, and your boulders just will have no chance to fitting in. So you start with putting the boulders first, your big priorities for the day, and making them happen. Make sure that they have sufficient time to happen. And then you put in small pebbles, and then you put all the sand and allow it to fill all the gaps. And if it doesn't fit, not a big problem. That was sand, after all, the sand of our lives. So from that visual, guys, and again, that's work in progress, no matter at what stage in your life. If you're working on accomplishing something, battling distractions with your shield of focus is something that you're going to be working on every single day. So how to have the most productive week ever? There is actually a really good system that's in one way or the other being adopted by all high performance, all people, all high achievers, all serial achievers that you admire. So 7 keys to the most productive week. And hopefully you're going to get a lot of those weeks in this quarter, in this year, to give you more meaning, more fulfillment, more joy, more alive time. So key number 1, look at your long-term priorities. Again, the challenge of our generation, of our time, is not choosing between bad or good, but choosing between good now and great later down the road in year 2, 3, 5, 10 years. So look at your long-term priorities, your 6 months, your yearly, your 5-year plan. Look at those priorities and then choose the priorities for the week accordingly. What is going to move you forward towards those goals? At least towards the end of this quarter. What are those things that are going to move your progress, the goals that you set for yourself for this quarter forward? What are the goals for this week that are aligned with that, right? Number 1, choose those goals, 1 to 3 priorities. Don't choose a lot. If there is anything that all productivity systems will teach you, all of them, no matter, again, what system, get things done, effortless, essentialism, we have slow productivity and deep work. No matter what, all of these systems tell you one thing: less is more. Choose 1 to 3 goals, because the more goals you choose, the more spread out you're going to be, and the less actually chance you have to accomplish any of them. Anyhow, 1 to 3 priorities based on your long-term goals, your long-term vision. So that is a key number 1. Choose 1 to 3 goals you're going to be working on, 1 to 3 results you're going to be working on this week. Then key number 2, look at your calendar and block out the time for each of those goals, for each of those priorities. Block out the time at the very beginning of your week. So then if something comes up and someone wants, for example, to schedule something with you or to put more on your plate, you look at your calendar first and you can say either yes, if you have the capacity, or no, I'm sorry, but I already have my major blocks of time scheduled for these other priorities. Of course, there is flexibility to reconsider, but don't kid yourself. If you don't block out that time, your major goals not going to happen. They will require some deep work, some blocks, prolonged blocks of time. They're the big rocks. They're not the sand that you can sprinkle here and there, right? So block out the time for your 1 to 3 most important goals. Now, the third key that not a lot of people are familiar with yet, but in productivity circles, it's been, well, actually, Get Things Done has been around for like 10 years at least. And it does talk about that concept of, before scheduling those blocks of time that to work on your bigger goals, consider your energy. For me, personally, I'm a morning person. And my mind is the most clear, the most focused I do. But by the way, most of the people do their best cognitive work at the beginning of the day. So I do my best work at the beginning of the day. And if I have, like I do today, a not difficult, but complex proposal to write, then I'm going to do it first thing in the morning. And yes, there are meetings. Yes, there are clients later in the day, but I do not require as much cognitive clarity, capacity, focus for those tasks. And so the third key is consider your energy, consider your cognitive peak. Between the hours of 1 to 3 p.m., for example, I'm not at my best, like no matter what I do, and I don't want to be drinking coffee to compromise my sleep, my bedrock of productivity and my health. And so I make sure that the most important things get scheduled, get done in the first part of the day, in the first 8 hours after my waking, before this midday slowdown where, yes, I can do emails, I can do coaching sessions, I can do a lot, but it's not my peak where I work on the most cognitively demanding projects like writing. So when scheduling and blocking out that time for your most important goals, make sure that you prioritize them according to your energy levels. When are you at your best during the day? Science says that at about 11ish, 10, 11ish, depending on how early you are kind of person, around the time you're going to have a peak of your cognitive abilities. And so if you have demanding work, like your biggest goals to do, then schedule it then. Make sure, just do your best, whether you work for yourself or you work at a company, that this time your peak cognitive capacity is spent on the most important tasks that you are, so to speak, hired for. So your genius gets prime time. So this is the key number 3, because when you do things, matters for how well you do that and how long it's going to take for you to finish that. For me, if I do this cognitive work in the morning, it's going to take, let's say, a couple of hours. And if I try to do it in the afternoon, it's going to occupy all 4 hours if I ever get it done, because my clarity is just not going to be there. So the third key for the most productive week is to know when you are at your best and to schedule the tasks accordingly. Number 4, back to this evening and morning routine. Start your morning right. Refocus on your priorities. Make sure that you know when your most important blocks of work happen. Allow the rest of your day to flow around that. And then in the evening, look back at your day and do the reflection. What worked and how can you do more of that? How can you replicate that? And what didn't work? And what can you learn from that? And how you can do better because of these lessons. Congratulate yourself. Make sure that you acknowledge your successes, not just what didn't work. And make sure that you get the lessons from what didn't work, and then refocus on the things that you're going to be working on tomorrow, your priorities. So crush your mornings, crush your evenings, those key times of the day when you have the capacity to reshape your day and maximize the learnings and also successes and wins, right? So make sure that you win your evenings and mornings. In morning, reaffirm the goals, the priorities, and make sure you have all the resources to make them happen. And in the evening, also get back to your priorities, plan your day for the next day, and also acknowledge your successes and why they happened, and acknowledge the fails or lessons, things that didn't exactly work, and what you can learn from that and what you can do better because of that. So win your morning, win your evening. Now, the key number 5 is to learning how to not waste your edge time. The edge time, the term that I took from the book, The Motivation Myth. It's, those moments when you might be in line, or maybe for your dentist, like I did recently. You might be in line for getting your bank work done, maybe you submit your taxes. There are multiple moments. Maybe you are at in a line of a grocery store or fix your phone. There are all these moments where you have to wait. So yes, sometimes you can take time to just think about things, but sometimes why not just knock out some emails or have a book like I always do on my phone and read through stuff, or have a set of articles that you wanted to read but never had the time for that. So that what is called edge time in the book Motivation Time. These moments are great for that. Again, those emails, those messages, those texts don't take away the time from your essential blocks of work. No, use those edge moments, edge time to do this not that important work. So make sure that you use the edge time. All of the high performers do that. They use those moments that just come up inevitably in your life for doing the unimportant, the stuff that needs to be done, but it's kind of low priority stuff. Again, texting, messages. Reading a book is actually quite an amazing thing to do if you are a lifelong learner who want to improve and grow. But you can also do quite a lot of reading time in those moments. Key number 6, multitask the right way. Don't multitask while working on your most important projects, trying to also check email and do calls. No, that's not going to work. But multitask when it comes to, do you need to get your steps in or do some errand? And how about walking and getting your steps in, getting that errand done, and at the same time, maybe listening to some audio messages from people that you maybe work with or need to communicate for other reasons, or perhaps do some calls, whether that's personal or professional, while walking, while getting the steps in, and also maybe doing some errand. Your lunch break, how about using it from at least time to time to build connections, to foster relationships with your coworkers or people in your network who you want to learn more about or learn more from, who you want to connect, build stronger relationships with people around you. How about using those lunch times, or maybe invite people to walk together after work or during lunchtime, again, to learn from each other, to bounce off ideas and to strengthen relationships. Or if you decide if you need to take a ride or a drive somewhere, why not take passive kind of ride? Either that's a train or a bus or an Uber. And while doing that, do some reading, do some studying, again, do some things that needs to get done, and you can easily do them while commuting. use the multitasking the right way, and you can and will accomplish so much more. And the seventh key is, when you get stuck, don't just sit there staying stuck and trying to figure out some magic out of your brain. You have only one head. Ask other people for help, for advice, for tips, brainstorm with other people. Two heads in Russia, where I'm from, we have this saying, one head is good, but two is always better. And realize that fact, that no matter who that person is on the other side, they have completely different life experience, life, work, the books that they read, the people that they talk to, the articles that they read, the podcasts that they listen to. And so they have this vast knowledge that for sure will have a lot of ideas that you simply cannot come up with. And so ask people, ask around for help, for brainstorm, for just a second opinion on the challenge that you're going through. Now, of course, you don't have to accept everything, and you do have to have some sort of reference point to what am I trying to achieve, what are my values, what is my situation, etc. But it doesn't hurt to ask for advice, to ask for opinions, especially from people you admire, especially from people you respect, especially from people you can learn from smart people just like yourself. So ask people, don't just sit there being stuck, and it will solve a lot of problems a lot faster. Speaking from experience, guys. There is even this book written, Who, Not How to Accelerate Your Success. I'm actually taking a workshop today also on that, who, not how, right? People around you have a lot more solutions than you think. Even the people who you don't think can have solutions. Again, remember this fact that the person on the other side has a lot more experience in a lot of different areas where you don't have that experience. They lived a whole life, well, not a whole life, but a lot of years. They read books, they listened to podcasts, they talk to people, they live their lives. So they have a lot of experience and knowledge to share that you don't have. So don't stay stuck, get out there and ask people for help. So these are 7 keys for the most productive week ever. And I'm also on the journey to fully implement and start living by this, especially for me is acing my evenings and reflecting on the day that passed. So I get to learn, so I reflect on my successes and my strengths and replicate more of my success. So that's definitely an area of improvement, and also using edge time, not so much for checking my Instagram or LinkedIn comments, but for something more useful, like reading the articles and books that I can benefit from and I'm curious about. So 7 keys to the most productive week ever. 1, look at your long-term priorities and goals, quarterly, yearly, 5-year plan, and make sure that this week you are moving those forward. Choose 1 to 3 goals that you are working on this week. Key number 2, block out the time. These goals will not happen unless you schedule time. And while scheduling that, key number 3, don't forget to reflect on your energy. When are you at your best? And make sure that you dedicate your best time to the most important task. Key number 4, win your morning, win your evening. Focus doesn't happen. You need to strengthen in it among all the distractions every single morning. Reflect, look at your most important goals for the week, make sure that they are scheduled and you have everything to make them happen. Each evening, reflect on the day, on your successes, how you can replicate it, on your failures, how you can learn from them to make your successes better and more of them. So win your morning, win your evening. Key number 5, use edge time, that waiting in line time, all kinds of efficiencies in your day to go through the messages, to go through emails, to do all of this unimportant stuff that still needs to get done. Key number 6, multitask the right way. How can you use your, for example, walking time to foster connections, to strengthen relationships, to do more work that can be done while walking? Maybe even do like Tim Ferriss does, record the podcasts, walk and talk. That seems to be the theme for a lot of podcasters this year. So multitask the right way, not while working, doing deep work on your most important goals, trying to squeeze the emails and calls like I'm guilty of doing sometimes. I'm like, nope, doesn't really work. So multitask the right way, key number 6. And key number 7, when you get stuck, don't just sit there stuck by yourself. 1, height is good, but 2 is always better. Ask people around you, and not just, some super experts. The other person, any person, has a completely different life, and they've accumulated some life wisdom that you can learn from. So these are the 7 keys to the most productive week ever. More meaning, more service, more joy, more alive time, and I might add, less Netflix. When did you last feel fulfilled after watching Netflix? I don't know about you, but I always felt like it was, maybe some fun, but at the end of the day, I would have been better off connecting with people, learning something new, having more active fun with other people, working on challenging projects. So have more alive time, have the most productive week with the 7 keys as often as possible. And again, don't forget that the way to battle distractions, the flu of our generation, the way to battle distractions is to have a strong shield of focus, which you work on every single day. Have the most productive week. Ask questions. Please do share this podcast for folks with as many highly productive, driven people who want to get out of their head and get more done, who want to have the most productive week but struggling. Share this podcast with at least one other person. If you found great value in it, that would be the best thing ever that you could ever do for me. So share this podcast, have the most productive week, and stay tuned. We have a lot more golden nuggets of productive wisdom coming.